All right, we should be going. Welcome, everybody, to another Tuesday evening discussion. Oh, it looks like we're having people join us now. This is awesome. And like we always do, we record this, we share it with others later. I'm excited to welcome Angelita Thomas as our special guest for tonight. My name is Ben Eden, of course. How Angelita and I met. Actually, usually I say this, Angelita, but you know how to tell this story. So why don't you tell everybody how we met?
Do you really want me to tell the story? I think you might want to tell it because, I tend to be a little extra and add some things to it. So.
Okay, well, what I remember is we met at dinner the first night of a conference in South Carolina.
Right.
So this was at night. First time I saw you, met you, was at dinner. And we hit it off immediately, had a good time. And what I remember, I brought it home to you. What I loved is we were talking about the virus, of course, and because of you, I now call it the Rona, and all my friends call it the Rona, thanks to you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. See, that's why it was better that you tell how we met, because I would have said something along the lines of, we met in South Carolina at a conference. We had a candle light dinner. You see what I'm saying? Like, it would have came out wrong.
Well, we did go to dinner a couple times with the group,
We did go to dinner a couple of times. See, but I'm not going to add with the group. We went to dinner a couple of times.
Awesome. So, Angelita, tell us a bit more about you and what you do.
So, I am a business coach and strategist. I coach businesses to get unstuck and move to the next level in their business. So I coach them to level up in business. I'm also a speaker and an author. And I am the co-host of my podcast, Real Talk. So I do all of that good stuff.
Wow, that is quite a bit. Yes. Tell us how you got started and how long you've been doing this.
So I've been a coach for 3 years, and how I got started with coaching was, oddly enough, people used to come to me and ask me, how do you start a business? So that's generally where it started. I would give, my advice and strategies on how to start a business and different things like that. I had the pleasure of being a co-host on a major radio station here in Detroit, Michigan. So that's how the podcast started. And as far as speaking and becoming an author, that was just me stepping out of my comfort zone and saying, hey, I can do this. And there it is.
Isn't that interesting? So I think for the benefit of a lot of our listeners, possibly a lot of what you just said, maybe you didn't have fully planned, or some of it just fell into your lap and it's like, I guess I'll try it, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And looking back, because you took those steps, even though there was some uncertainty and some fear that we'll talk about, now you can look back and say, wow, look what I've created, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Cool. So at this conference, you spoke about staring fear in the face, and I really liked it. I wanted you to come on tonight and share some nuggets from it.
Okay, so yes, my title was Staring Fear in the Face, and I kind of broke it down into 3 different categories. So the first one was fear to faith, and we talked a little bit about, obviously fear is the most generalized term. It implies anxiety and the loss of courage to do things. So for me, I always say that fear is a self-imposed prison that will keep you from becoming what God intended you to be. And I believe that if you move against fear, if you put your faith, if you believe in your faith a lot more than your fear, it will allow you to move to the next level. So I talked a little bit about that with the fear to faith part. I talked about honing in on your own strength, finding your purpose, and just being your authentic self, And although, I even do things and I'm still fearful of doing things. But the fear is never really going to go away. Sometimes, you'll have that, like for me, for example, every time I'm getting ready to get on the stage in front of people, I have that, that feeling of, oh my God, I'm getting ready to do this. But I think though, if you don't have those moments, then it's not fun. It's not worth it. Like you have to still, feel that type of rush. So, but once you can step out of your comfort zone and do those things, then you just create, it's like a magnetic, thing. Like once you overcome fear and you step out of your comfort zone, it just opens doors for you to keep moving forward and forward into the dreams and the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my fear to faith part. All right. So then the next one is fearless. So once you begin to step out of your comfort zone, you start to become fearless, so you kind of feel like, hey, I can do this. Wait a minute. I think I can do this. So like for me, I use myself as an example for fearless because I used to be terrified to fly. I don't care what you said, I was not getting on a plane, So it really took like some digging within myself to kind of get to the root of why I was so fearful of flying. So I did that and kind of like had to search within, ask some questions, get some support to find out why I was scared of flying. So let's fast forward to now. I fly. Obviously, you guys heard that Ben and I met in South Carolina, and I'm sure you're like, well, how did she get to South Carolina? I flew. So that's how I got there. But here's the thing. When it comes to fear, I think we listen to what other people say, and then their fear becomes our fear. So for me, it was my grandmother was terrified of flying. And she used to say how when she flew to Disney World, she screamed and cried the whole time she was on, the plane. So if my grandmother is telling me this has to be like the most horrible thing in the world. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
so I took her fear and made it my own fear. So I think sometimes we get caught up, and that is what happened when people ask, well, why are you afraid to do this, or why are you afraid to do that? And sometimes you can't really give them a good answer of why. You're just like, I don't know, because I am. Well, because you took over someone else's fear.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like my fearless, one of my fearless moments. And the thing of it is, like, I love to fly. So I'm like a big kid on the plane. Okay, Ben, like the part when we're getting ready to go, down the runway and go into the sky, I'm like, oh my God. So to me, like that is like the best part of flying. And of course, when I get in the sky and, we hit a little bit of turbulence, of course, I'm kind of looking at the flight attendants to make sure they're not looking different. And if they're, business as usual, then I know, hey, it's just a little bit of turbulence. We'll be
Yeah.
So that was pretty much that. And then, I think once you become fearless, you then level up. Like the sky is not the limit. Like you can just keep going and keep going, like whatever you desire, whatever you manifest, like you can do it. You don't need someone else to create a space for you, or you don't need someone else to create a platform for you to do the things that you want to do. Like I've created my own platform. I do my own events. I have my own podcast. So I'm always for doing it all. So that's that. Just take back your power. You validate yourself. There's good things, and success can't happen when you're in your comfort zone. So I always say, hey, step out your comfort zone. You will be surprised and amazed at all of the good energy and all of the good things that come to you just by being yourself and like, hey, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. And here I am. I'm talking to you, Ben.
That's right. So some interesting thoughts that came to my mind when you were saying that. I wish I remembered this quote perfectly from Lion King, right? But when Simba goes to the hyenas and he gets in trouble and then his dad comes to save him, afterwards they're talking about what happened and about courage. And Simba tells his dad and he says, well, you're not afraid of anything. And he says, well, I was tonight, right? And so he says, well, as a king, he still has fear. Even somebody who's in charge of the land and appears so powerful, he still has that fear, but he works through it anyway, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's neat seeing somebody like you in your shoes who's done some awesome things, but still admits that fear exists. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves the wrong story, or we listen to the wrong voice that says, oh, I'm scared. That probably means I can't do it. But no, if you're scared, okay, count that as part of the process and then work through it. And people probably won't see it anyway. They'll think, wow, what power, right?
Absolutely.
That's cool. Very good. So I guess to summarize, if you will, for somebody who's, let's just say between 20 and 30 years old, if they're starting a business or if they're just, working through school, whatever they're trying to do, they know what they want to do, but they're afraid. What would you say to them to stare that fear in the face and level up?
A lot of it would be is find your purpose. Why do you want to start the business? Like, I think when we start businesses and we do things, I think there has to be a level of, okay, I'm going to do this because, or, hey, I'm passionate about something and this is what I want to do. So for me, I honestly think that when you're passionate about something, when you're doing it, you find your purpose, So I like to tell people, I know you're nervous. I know you're scared, but why do you want to do this? This is your passion. This is your why. Once you realize what your why is, it kind of outweighs anything that may come in your way to where you'll be like, no, I don't want to do this. For me, I honestly think that each of us have a certain call. We have a call on our life. And so with that being said, each one of us, we're put on this earth to do a certain thing. And then I think when you are able to identify your why, identify your passion and then it all comes together, and then that's your purpose. When you're able to identify your purpose, I think it becomes a little bit easier for you to take those steps to move forward. Identify your why and your passion equals purpose. Absolutely. So when you do that, I think when you find all that out, it tends to be a little bit more easier for you to still have fear, because that's just life and that's what's going to happen. But your faith is so strong that it allows you to move forward still with the fear. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I like this. Two other thoughts that came to my mind real quick. If you've heard the quote or the idea of change will never happen until the desire to change is stronger than the desire to remain the same.
Okay.
Interesting, right? So you won't ever change until the desire to change is stronger than your desire to remain the same. Cool. So that's your motive. If your motive and your passion and your purpose, if you understand it and it's strong enough, then that'll help you move through it. Mm-hmm. Also, I think you can relate, but this happens to me a lot. My goodness. If I'm speaking or about to present and I get terrified, then I pause and I think, hold on, am I more worried about what people will think of me, or am I caring more about helping the people I speak to? Mm-hmm. And if I can think of the second one, then I'm less nervous.
And here's the thing. This is what I always tell people too, and this is what was told to me. First of all, this is the first time, 9 times out of 10, this is the first time these people are seeing you. So that's number one. You'll probably never see half of these people again. That's number 2. Number 3, they do not know that you are scared.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing is, they ain't going to remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
Way more important than, than anything. So yeah, so that's for me. So South Carolina, both days, I was terrified. But y'all didn't know. We had fun. We had fun, Benji. We had fun, especially that first day. We had a lot of fun. We had so much fun. But oh my God, Nikisha's laughing to see her face right now. She's cracking up. This is hilarious. So, but yeah, we had fun, and I was able to interact, and just you guys didn't know I was terrified. Terrified. I've done staring fear in the face. I've talked about it before. But again, even though half of the people I'll never see again, even though you guys don't know me, you don't know what I'm scared about, it still happens. But I always say, they're not going to know if I messed up. This is my speech. They're not going to know if I messed up.
No, so these have been good, Angelita. Thank you. We've shared some good tools on how to stare fear in the face, and we've admitted that it'll exist anyway, but we can accomplish great things regardless, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so to finalize, as we do on all these episodes, since my message is about overcoming emotional pain, I like to hear the stories of others. So can you share an experience of how you overcame the emotional pain, and anyway, what helped?
I honestly think I'm a firm believer that if we can't talk about it, then we can't heal from it. And so for me, so I was in a domestic violence relationship, a domestic abuse relationship back when I was a young teenager. Teenagers between 17 and 21. So that's something that I hid for years. I just didn't talk about it. I didn't tell people about it because it was one of those things where, hey, I'm Angelita Thomas, the business owner. I'm a strong individual. I can't share these things with you because then, I felt that it would, I don't know, minimize me, minimize my my knowledge. But actually, no. What happened was, as you get older, I think you get older and you get wiser. So for me, it was one of those things where, hey, I need to share my story. I need to let people know what I went through, because me sharing my story is going to help someone heal. It's going to help them, overcome. And it's also going to let them know that, hey, you know what? I am not alone. Other people have went through this, So now, with that being said, I'm very open to discussing it and talking about it. I'm actually in the middle of book number 2, anthology number 1, and it's called Surviving Her. So in this book, there is 10 women, and we share our story with you, regardless of what it is that we've survived. And so in the book, I share a situation that had happened in the relationship. And I share it for everybody to, and I want people to read it, and I want people to ask me questions, and I want people to be like, oh my God, why, how? I want people to feel comfortable doing that. And then I want to just share it with people, because so many of us, we keep a lot in. And I think that when you hold things in, you suffer from different things, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, and, all of those things can kill you, and for me, I am too dope to die right now. So I have to I got to get all of this stuff out, and I got to share it with y'all, because I'm just too dope to die right now because of stress, anxiety, and all of this stuff. So yeah, there it is, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And like you said, it's just so important for others to hear the story, regardless of what it is, right? So they can relate, see you as a human. I love what you said at the very beginning. If you can't talk about it, you can't heal from it. I love that. Okay.
I love you, Ben. You're so cute.
Oh, thank you. Well, Angelita, you've been great. Thank you for sharing all these tidbits of wisdom.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime, anytime,
How,
anytime.
how can people connect with you?
So people can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram, Angelita the Coach. And then my website is coachangelita.com.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks for joining on this Tuesday evening discussion, and we will see you later.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you for having me.
No problem. See ya.